Welcome to the DAO Factor. I'm your host, Lisa Yu. I'm a crypto and tech investor, entrepreneur, and speaker. I got into crypto in 2017 when I took rental payments in Ethereum. And since then, have invested and advised dozens of companies in tech and in Web3. For those of you who are new to DAOs, a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization that's taking the world by storm. Today, I'm super excited to introduce to you our guest, Paul Hill, founder of Strada, a Web3 marketplace for artists and collectors of physical and digital artwork, targeting young emerging artists from marginalized backgrounds. Their mission is to uplift each other and provide a support system for artists to build out their careers independently and to provide equitable opportunities. First off, thank you so much, Paul, for joining our podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I'm curious, what are you most passionate about? What motivates you to wake up every day?
Yeah, I start my day and end my day with Strada right now. It is our first year out, so I'm trying to move as quickly as we can and as intentional as possible. So it takes a lot of thought and focus, as well as energy to put forward into that. In terms of my own personal values and missions, they certainly feed into Strada 100%. The way that I approach certain projects that I work on, and even consulting opportunities, is starting off with a problem and just thinking of what is the current problem that's at hand, and then how do we create a solution for it, and then just kind of reworking those thoughts and ideas around that solution until I feel like we have one we should start testing around. And before we get to that perfect one, there's going to be some hiccups, but we will get to that perfect one. And the problem that I saw with the current art world that we live in, that most artists exist in right now, is the lack of diversity, as well as the high barrier of entry for many artists to pursue full-time careers. I'm not sure how familiar you are currently with the art world or the art industry, but just from quick overview demographics wise, within institutional spaces, 85% of artists are white, 87% are male, and only 2% of artists on a global scale are actually represented by institutional spaces and by art galleries, leaving out all of the other 98% of artists. And we're also seeing a huge issue just in the form of how sales commissions currently take place. With most people don't know about this, is that 50% of sales from an artist whose work is exhibited goes as a sales commission to the art gallery that is showing their artworks. And within that transaction, what we're seeing is that one, the artist is providing this artwork that they spent the past couple of weeks or months working on, and in return for the 50%, the art gallery is providing connections and building that reputation for the artist by connecting them with other people within their network, as well as providing the sales for that artist and creating that transaction for them. The biggest issue that we're seeing that makes all of that seem okay and normal to the art world and the community that we currently exist within is the lack of tech as a background. So piecing it together here, and just to say that the reason why 50% is currently seen as something that makes sense and is a proper valuation is because there's no use of tech within these art deals. Currently, when someone wants to purchase an artwork, that goes through someone who is already familiar with the gallery and will contact the whoever's advising that sale, or the art dealer for that gallery, or the art gallery director themselves to purchase the artwork. They'll send in an invoice, pay for the artwork, and in return they will receive the physical artwork as well as the certificate of authentication saying that they now own that artwork. And those will all either be on actual paper or via email. So that is the extent of how much technology is used currently within the art world. And that's not touching on social media and that sort of marketing. So what I obsess about, what I wake up and think about every morning, is just how do we create a more efficient system backed by tech in order to support this new generation of artists that we work with. We primarily work with artists who are young and emerging, primarily from marginalized background, focusing on this newer generation of artists, specifically Gen Z and younger millennials, who are looking for a new outlet and a new road, a new direction to take, which is by definition and translation what Strada means, which is street, road, creating a new path for artists to take within this industry, which is backed by tech. And that is what I obsess about. That is what I wake up and think about every day. And that's what I think about before I go to sleep.
I love that. You're truly immersed in your business. And how did you get into all this? Is your background in art? Are you an artist yourself?
Yeah, I sold screen prints. That's my first introduction.
Okay. What kind of prints?
This artwork that I designed and made on my own. I believe I called it Ulipian. Was like the title of the print series. But prior to that, I was studying at college at Grinnell College, a small liberal arts school that no one knows about in Iowa. And they're studying computer science and art. But through my focus, I wanted to create VR programs through an educational standpoint, creating opportunities for people to, travel to places that they couldn't afford to travel to, and just be able to click on certain locations, buildings, statues within their proximity that they can learn more about. Sort of as like a virtual field trip. I was in school for about 2 years before I figured out what I really want to do, which was Strada, because COVID hit. I moved back to New York City. I was trying to figure out how to afford rent in New York. And my initial idea was to sell screen prints. So I started selling screen prints. And as soon as I started selling screen prints, I realized how many issues currently existed within the art world, especially through just selling artworks. Yes. And that's when things started to click for me. And as soon as I started seeing those issues, I started trying to figure out a solution for those. And then as I started working on these solutions, started getting more involved with the art world, started seeing more and more issues within it, and also seeing how people currently operate in it, and also see what people enjoy from it. That's how I started creating this idea about what Strada is and how it would come to life.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's like you struggled as an artist with the current system that's broken, and you're customer number one. You built a solution to help the entire industry. And, I want to understand, what have you identified that's broken in the art industry? And, what are you looking to do to solve that?
Yeah, I'd say that the major obstacles currently for artists is just a lack of resources and tools to build their careers independently. Most of the structures in place are currently built by art galleries, art dealers, and art advisors who have the resources and knowledge and connections to have these sort of transactions between artists and art collectors, which often leaves out artists from having this understanding of how to sell their artworks by themselves. Mm-hmm. So that's a major issue that we're trying to solve. And that's what we're doing through the marketplace. We have 3 main branches of Strada. One is the online marketplace where artists can list their own artworks, make their own profiles, sell direct to art collectors themselves. Beyond that, most front-facing wise, we have in-person exhibitions where we showcase artworks from artists from across the country, just flying in from as far as Montana, as close as New York City, bringing these artists together who we believe are top artists of this generation and showing their artworks. And then beyond that, we have our artist grants and residency programs where we, provide financial support for artists, as well as provide studio space for free for artists to make their own artworks in. One, because that's a huge barrier as well for artists, is just, especially in New York City, is real estate and how expensive that can be and how unattainable it can be. Those are the main things that we provide as current solutions to all those different issues. And then obviously the lack of representation for artists from marginalized backgrounds is a huge one as well. So we, although the platform is for it, we don't discriminate based off gender, race, or background for the platform. We do focus on highlighting artists from marginalized backgrounds, making sure in-person exhibitions, we have a high percentage of artists who are BIPOC or come from or non-male. And it shows. The impact shows.
Yeah.
If you go to any other art, it's definitely. But also, if you go to most gallery spaces, I'm not saying all gallery spaces, but most gallery spaces you'll go into, and they will be primarily white and primarily male when you go to an in-person exhibition. However, for our collector base, 90% of our collectors are female/non-binary, and also 90% are BIPOC. So
that's incredible.
The numbers, thank you. I mean, that's like one of the biggest things I'm proud of myself for Strada is that we have created a system and community that is one supportive and also welcoming for all sorts of art collectors. And it's not just one, demographic that we're really appealing to. We really tapped into a niche that's felt extremely unappreciated for so long and are providing one space for them, but also, helping them grow their own careers. So
you're not just saying this is the mission, you're actually doing it, you're living it, you're creating this DAO. So tell me more about the DAOs. So it sounds like you've created a DAO to create a community that's governing brand distribution and providing grants and studio space. How many artists are on the platform today? I know 90% of them are BIPOC, female, groups. But how many artists have you onboarded so far?
We have over 500 artists so far within our network for the marketplace and artists that we've exhibited. We launched this past September 17th in 2021. So it's been very fast.
Less than a year.
Fast.
Yeah.
Less than a year. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary from our first exhibition that we ever had before we officially launched as a company, which was July 28th, which I'm super excited for. And the DAO is, again, the same thought process that I had when I initially thought about Strada, which is thinking about this problem that we have at hand and just creating different solutions for it until we finally get to one that seems right. And what we started off with, which was this grant and residency program, was amazing. We're providing one, financial aid, as well as studio space for artists to, reap the benefits and, have financial support. But what we really wanted to do, what I personally wanted to do, it didn't sit 100% right with me. There's just still something there that was like, this can be better. Even if we are doing this could be better. And I was thinking about what it could be that could be better. And it was the lack of autonomy that the community had in the grant distribution aspect of it. I was still the one who was reading these applications. I was the one who was reviewing these different artists and picking who would receive what. I wanted to create a system where it really did involve more of the community that we've already built so far. And I figured out the best way to go about that was through blockchain, making sure that one, it's on a public ledger, two, you're able to see exactly who's a part of it and how much money is a part of the treasury, as well as making sure that everybody that has bought into this treasury are the ones who are submitting their own proposals. They're also the ones who are voting on who receives what. And they're the ones who completely create their own decisions. And me and my team, we have zero say in who receives what. So we had our first grant that was distributed, which is a pretty big opportunity for a lot of these artists, which was that I sat on the board with the other art fair, which is like this big art fair. They have over 5,000 people and attendees and hundreds of artists in Brooklyn, New York. They invited me to serve on the board with their founder of the art fair and the director of the art fair to assess which artist should receive these artist booth that they've applied for. Similar. So they ran their own grant, and that their system was the system that we were doing prior, which was having like a set board and like a set group of people go through these applications, review them, and then vote on them themselves. And part of the compensation, they compensated me financially, but then they also offered to Strada to host the art fair for an evening, and it'll be our night, the Strada night, and then also have our own booth for us to select our own artists. And I was like, well, great opportunity. We can just offer the booth as a grant. Could have been an opportunity for us to make some money by selling an artist's artwork there and taking a part of the sales commission. But I decided why no better opportunity right now to practice this community governed grant distribution system that I've been thinking about and building than with this grant. So we just did that. So we it was a great opportunity and went extremely well. We had over 100 people submit their votes, and we had I think over 20 artists apply for the 3 spots that were available. So we had 3 artists who were officially selected, 2 from Miami, Florida. So they flew up, put up their artworks. We had 1 from Brooklyn, New York. She came over, put up her artworks, and it was great.
Yeah.
Great opportunity. Yeah.
I mean, you saw the opportunity to practice this whole decentralized governance model. So tell us more about, the DAO structure, the tokenomics, ownership, how do you run and operate kind of this community governed distribution rather than having a single authority make all the decisions of where the grant money goes, you're empowering the whole community to vote as a collective. So tell us how technology, the blockchain, and DAOs can really assist with that.
Absolutely, 100%. So it's a matter of thinking about incentive as well as autonomy. Those are like the two biggest things that I go back and forth between. One, making sure that people actually have something of value. I guess the space and the community calls it utility. Having one, utility, and autonomy. Those are like the two main things to think about, I think, when creating like a successful DAO. Some would argue that the third major piece of it is memeability and culture building. That's definitely what we have right now in the short term, with people creating, more viral content to just hop on really quickly. But from my perspective, I think for things that are here to last for a long time, just focusing on those two things, utility and autonomy. So the utility for the Strada NFTs is, one, you purchase one of the Strada NFTs, 50% of the proceeds automatically go to the Strada treasury, 50% fund Strada operations, like myself and my team. That's just to ensure that we can keep doing what we've been doing, which is supporting different artists, while also making sure the Strada treasury remains funded.
Yes.
An initial launch, we did a very initial launch very early on in the very end of December, very beginning of January, where we created the first system for people to customize their own 3D avatars and then mint those as NFTs. Since then, you've seen a lot of people do the similar things, but we were the first ones to have that go out successfully and into that feature. And going forward, what we'll be doing after another larger release of those sort of drops, but just to make sure this treasury remains consistently funded forever, and also to make sure that the community are the ones who are regulating exactly how much a Strada NFT is worth. Those will be daily auctions. To a daily auction of 2 Strada NFTs, 50% of the proceeds fund the treasury, 50% fund Strada operations. And that's the way that the treasury will be funded. One NFT equals a membership automatically to the StradaDAO, as well as one vote within the StradaDAO. So as soon as you have a Strada NFT, you're able to pitch your own projects, you're able to request a set amount of money, and you're also able to start voting on other people's applications and proposals. So that's what the current entry process is like. If you'd like me to get into the voting, I can do that really simply as well. The voting process itself is also pretty simple. One, making sure that it's the majority say. So you need to have over 50% of the people who participated in voting vote for you for yes. But you also need to have 25% participation from everyone who is a part of StradaDAO or Strada Friends DAO. That just means you need 25% of people that have Strada NFTs to either say yes, no, or they're impartial. But if over 50% of those people who participated say yes, then you automatically receive the funding without the Strada team having to transfer funds ourselves. It's already encoded into the smart contract to automatically receive the funds, which is the autonomy part of everything. And then that's just a system that's just designed to last. If there are any changes that the community feels like are needed, that will be on them to, pitch their own proposals as to what should be changed within the voting system in the DAO. And if it's voted by a majority say, then those changes will be made.
I love how you just broke it down and made it super clear.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the benefits of running Strada Friends as a DAO?
It's so new, but the absolute benefit, I would say, is autonomy and community building for this generation of artists and collectors who want to support one another themselves. So it is, I generally think that blockchain DAOs are the best form of crowdfunding as well as community building. One, because it is fully public. You can see at any point in time exactly how much money is in the wallet, as well as you can absolutely confirm that all of that money that's been voted on by you or by other members of the team or of the DAO who say this is how much money this person should receive. You can make sure that that is the money that is going. And it's no more and no less. It's that exact
full transparency. Yeah.
Exactly. Which is what the physical art world lacks. The physical art world lacks a ton of transparency. So that's like my biggest pull and interest into tapping into the Web3 space, is that transparency as well as the community building. And lastly, making sure that artists receive royalties on resold artworks. But that's not currently a part of the DAO right now. That's something that we're focusing on for the future.
Totally. Well, you talk about community. What do you think
Yeah.
is the heart of building community? You know, beyond like the tools and the platform and the community governance and the grant programs, what have you found to be kind of the key to building community?
The key to building community for Strada is just kind of tapping into our talents of one, my ability to find these young artists who I truly believe are going to be top artists of our generation, and showing them early before anyone's really like taking that risk to bring them on and showcase their artwork, while also making sure that everyone feels involved and a part of this process. So like when we have
feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Exactly. And not having it just be jargon in like a facade, but genuinely actually having them be a part of this process. So like when we've done community governed events as test runs previously, and those are really fun and funny. I had this idea to do, it had the potential to be a global treasure hunt. It ended up just being the US, but created these keys actually. If I can find one for you, I will show you. So create these keys.
Oh, so cool.
We had 3 different designs for these keys, and each 3 of those designs had a date from one of our exhibition opening nights. This one was from October 23rd for 10/23, and we allowed our Instagram community to decide which 3 cities we were going to send these keys to.
Oh, fun!
Yeah, and then it ended up being New York, LA, and Charlotte, North Carolina, and then the final day,
North Carolina snuck in there.
North Carolina rallied, and it was truly because of their community. They just all decided to band together and just like reached out to all of their friends, like, guys, we need Strada, we need more of like this art community within our city. Yeah, they said New York has an art community. New York has an art community. Chicago has an art community. LA has their art community. We don't have anything. Let's try and bring Strada to Charlotte, and they did it. So Charlotte ended up being.
I can't wait for DAOs to disrupt like elections and how we govern and vote. Like it's just such an efficient way to vote and rally.
Yeah, and it's fully transparent. So Charlotte rallied. I think they actually ended up having more votes than New York, Chicago, and LA. Definitely than LA and Chicago and it was really funny to see that. And anyway, so we ended up sending these 3 keys to those 3 cities and hosted a treasure hunt, and all 3 of those were found, and it was great. So that was our first experience with community governed voting. My approach to introducing technology and these new ideas to communities that are like pretty much not receptive, not as open to going down these new paths, is by just having fun. So I wanted to like create like a fun game for people to see, like participate in and vote in. And then they got it. They were like, oh, this makes sense, and this is actually working. And then after that, we had the artist booth at the art fair as a grant to distribute to people. One, because it's something that people need and really wanted, just to like boost their own careers and participate in, and it was free. And now the next step will be for introducing our physical art community to the DAO, because currently we've only been sourcing people from NFT spaces and Web3 spaces for the DAO. We're waiting for the physical art world to catch up and make sure we're not scaring them off or turning them away by moving too quickly with them.
You're focusing on the digital and NFT art world for now, with the plan to expand to physical art and to bring Web 2 into Web 3.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I want to know, what are some of the values and core tenets of Strada Friends?
The main focus is community governed grant distribution. That's like the number one thing that we focus on. We're trying to make it as simple as possible, not trying to, I feel like within the NFT space, we definitely see a lot of jargon and promises, but this is just what we are here to deliver. And that's the main focus, which is community governed grant distribution. Beyond that, we have, events planned for this community, certain opportunities that'll be available for Strada Friends DAO holders, but everything is focused on art and artists in our community, such as we have workshops that we've hosted for in-person exhibitions where we have like a ceramicist come in and they teach people how to make different clay sculptures that we then take and fire for them. So we'll be having more workshops happening in the future, and those will have, either discounts or free spots for StradaDAO holders, just to make sure that there's additional utility to the DAO beyond the grant distribution.
What are your long-term goals for the DAO? Like, do you plan to create art galleries, be a funding arm for artists to create your own collection? What are your thoughts and goals? Are there other NFT drops coming up too?
Yeah, so the long-term goals with the DAO itself is to remain fully autonomous. It's to remain as a branch of Strada that I have zero control of, just creating different opportunities and resources for people to vote on themselves. So we currently have our own art gallery. We have our own gallery. We have our own exhibitions. We showcase our own artists. I've been listening to the crowd. It does seem like people of Strada Friends DAO would want to have their own art gallery that they govern themselves. That definitely just
cool.
Needs way more. It'd be very cool. It's very expensive, so we need way more capital for them to play around with, and make sure. Especially when it comes down to that being way more just like a community-oriented space and less so of a business venture. Because if it were more so of a business venture, at least there's capital to make sure that things keep going. But for a community governed space, it would solely be just off of the great vibes. So we want to.
And how many people can join the DAO? It's pretty unlimited, right?
Yeah, so we're actually changing up those numbers right now with like the way that the market is currently structured. Previously, we were going to launch with 3,333 for our upcoming drop, but we're restructuring the exact number that looks like. We honestly might just even hold off. We might just hold off until the market is back up again, and we're in a place where people are seeing that they actually have capital to spend on joining a DAO, which is also in our benefit. One, because the physical art world has more time to catch up and also gain interest as well. Beyond that, it'll be infinite in terms of time, but limited in quantity. So it'll be 2 a day forever. Yeah.
I see. Ooh, so very exclusive then.
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite artists growing up, and who are you following now?
Well, when I was growing up, I grew up in New York City, so I was going to like the Met, the MoMA, Natural History Museum, those sort of things. I wasn't really going to art galleries until I got to high school, and I started exploring different spaces and areas. It's even funny because in high school, I wasn't going there through like a scholarly lens or anything. That's only happened recently. In high school, I was going with like the social aspect of it. I was going to like meet other, like-minded young New York City creative type people. I'm just meeting great people and seeing how those spaces operated, and just going for a good time. But my favorite artists as growing up, Carrie James Marshall and Monet, who are like these big names. Also really in love with Cara Walker when I got into high school. Recently, I have all these other new favorite artists who are these young, super talented artists who are making these incredible artworks. And it's really beautiful to see. One of my favorite artists right now, Amanda Baugh. She's this extremely talented artist. She graduated from Columbia University, lived in New York, and then she's now currently living in London. She's finished her first solo show, which was beautiful. So proud of her. And another favorite artist of mine is Sasha Gordon. She's killing it. Easy, hands down, going to be known as one of the top 10 artists of our generation.
Wow.
Another favorite of mine, Sophia Wilson, who's a photographer. Very recently, there's been this one painter who I appreciate his works so much. I'm blanking on his name right now. But,
no worries. I love that you mentioned 3 female artists as your top, artists following now. And I can tell that, your platform purpose is to support these up and coming artists who are marginalized. So, of course, you're following the ones that are up and coming that are female, BIPOC.
I don't love them because they're just like female marginalized. Like these are background. These are objectively best artists that I have seen of our generation right now. They are just tapped into a skill level and fantasy worlds of their own, and leading this entire new generation of contemporary artists in terms of like color theory, details, and just how they move independently as people aside from their craft. So yeah, I'm excited to see what's next for all of them.
Yeah. Well, the trend that I'm seeing across all creative platforms is the sense that the individual creator can create their own business. And, whether it's in music or acting or content
Yeah.
creation, that wasn't possible before. And so it does seem like Web3 is empowering creators to chart their own path, to set their own rates, to attract their own fan base. What is your advice to people who are artists and creators who are just getting into Web3 and deciding if they should start or join a DAO?
Research.
Research and join
See
a DAO.
what is
See what
and
it's
join a
about
DAO.
first. Exactly.
See what it's about first. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Research by doing, for sure. And follow the same path as every successful art collector has always done, which is first and foremost, ask yourself, do you like it? Do you like the artwork that is there? Do you like the system and community that's currently built? Or are you solely doing it because other people like it and there's some sort of like financial incentive attached to it? If you don't genuinely love the artwork or the community, there's no point in doing it, and
Exactly.
you're not gonna be as successful. Definitely just do your research and make sure that what they're saying is reflective of what they're doing, and get some friends of yours involved as well. There's no point to like go
Yeah.
into anything alone.
Grab
It's always more
some
fun to
friends.
have
Exactly.
grab those friends, and yeah, that's all I have. Excited to see what's happened, because I'm sure that the best that's to come. Those creators of those DAOs and projects may not even be in the NFT and Web3 space yet. They could just solely be within the Web2 world right now and are getting familiar with Web3 and are just starting to formulate their own thoughts. So I'm excited to see what happens like these next 5 years for sure. Is going to move so quickly, but also 5 to 10, I feel like we're going to see insane projects that have a stronger impact on the world, because we like you and I, we're part of the Web3 space. So whenever we hear some news, like, oh my God, that's insane. That's a huge role, but that's definitely less than like 10 to 20% of the world's population that even hears about this or learns about this. So I'm excited to see projects and DAOs that have a global impact for like the majority of the population.
Yes. And how do we join Strada Friends?
How do we join Strada Friends? Stay in touch with our social platforms. We currently keep our Instagram for our physical artworks and Twitter for the digital community and the Web3 community. Of course, down the road, those two will join together to become one sort of community once everyone's caught up to that point. And yeah, so tap into both of those two socials and come to our in-person exhibitions, our opening nights. We have a huge community that comes out to those. We're definitely way more social than the average gallery. You won't have to go there feeling like it's a cold environment and you won't talk to anyone. I'm sure you'll find a great conversation to have with somebody, and you'll come away with a few good friends as well.
Oh yeah, one of the most fun art galleries I went to was when there was a DJ and it was literally like a party. There was like pizza DAO was there, and there was a DJ, and then there was food, drinks, DJ, art, digital and physical art. It was such a good time. I had a blast. So Strada.world is the website. So check out their site, follow their Discord. If you're an artist, definitely check it out, learn more, see how you can become part of the community. And, especially for those who want to get more exposure or funding for your art, Strada World is an incredible community to be a part of. And to end the podcast, what is a personal motto of yours that you live by? Or a quote that
my God, absolutely. Yeah, I have one that I say all the time, which is you got to start somewhere.
Yes. You just got to start. Just pick up the pen, pick up the brush.
Exactly. Or if you want to have an in-person exhibition and the only option for a space that you have isn't necessarily like the cleanest, most upscale environment, start somewhere. Just start the community, start showing artworks.
Take that step.
Just start somewhere. Yeah. And that's my biggest one.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining our podcast and sharing your heart, sharing about Strada. I love what you're doing for the art world, and I can't wait to see the future collections and potential art
Yeah,
galleries, shows, and events. I'll definitely be
absolutely. I'll keep you
by
updated.
bringing friends.
Yeah, love that. Can't wait.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Lisa.
Thanks for joining us this week on Season 1 of The DAO Factor. Follow The DAO Factor on Twitter and YouTube to watch videos of our podcast, where we'll be dropping a new video every week featuring key leaders of DAOs, community builders, and leaders in Web3.